over there, and fellow speakers, and I put guests, but there's no guests, I assume. Well, let me begin. I'm going to begin with telling you who I am. I'm a dog trainer with the Swindon Dog Dancing School on here, and the title of my talk is Puppy Talk, or Giving Vocal Commands, or Vocal Cues, as we now call them. Just a question. I don't know if you've got a pet, got a dog or a pet. Well, if you do, I'm sure you talk to your pet, and in some ways your pet communicates with you. Well, this evening I'm going to be thinking primarily about dog training, because when you don't really talk and give cues to a goldfish or a hamster, do you? But as an introduction, I just want you to know that dog training has changed so much in the past few years. I consider myself to be a reward-based trainer, and this means that I encourage owners, and that's you, to reward your dog for what it's doing good, and not to be punishing, which is what they used to do, for those things which are bad. Well, also, a change which has taken place is in the terminology. So I'm going to be speaking about vocal cues and body signals rather than commands, because it's more politically correct in the dog world to talk about cueing your dog now. In the first part, I'm going to tell you about how to cue your dog verbally and when to do it, and then I'm going to share with you what not to do, and hopefully, if there's spare time, you can ask questions at the end. Well, how to give verbal cues. Dogs pick up hand cues easier than verbal cues. 95% of cues they pick up are non-verbal. But in dog sports, such as heel work to music, which is what I'm involved in, or agility, it's easier and more practical and quicker to use verbal cues, particularly when they can't see us. Let me just give an illustration. The dog is in the kitchen and you are in the living room, and you wonder what your dog is up to because you hear noises and it sounds a bit ominous. So you decide to call your dog. Well, you can't signal your dog from the kitchen when you're in the living room, so you call here and hopefully he comes to you. That's the theory anyway. But because hand signals are so much easier for the dog to learn, we begin by teaching them a hand signal or a body signal, and then we add a word to it that they can associate with the signal. And usually we teach them the hand signal by luring, which is moving them, and they follow the hand, and we have a treat in the hand, or food item, toy. And they don't know what they're doing, they're just following what's in your hand. And then you add a word to it for what you want them to be doing, and they pick up the association. Now, a way of thinking about this is to be thinking of how a child learns to recognise words. A dog has the brain of a toddler or 18-month-old, 2-year-old child. So let's think about the child learning to recognise the word cat. A child isn't born knowing the names of everything and knowing instantly that that furry animal with a sort of tail and whiskers is a cat. It learns that it's a cat because the parent gets the attention of the child. They might call its name or talk to it, and then they might show them a picture in a book or look at a TV programme or point to a cat out. They'd say, "Oh, hello, Julian, look, a cat," and it would begin to recognise. It's association and repetition, and because of the association and repetition, they do come to learn the words. And it's the same as with dogs. It's the association and repetition, but using a signal first of all. I'll give you an example. The word sit. It doesn't matter what word you use when you're speaking to your dog, because they wouldn't know. You could call a sit down, or you could call a sit up, or anything, but you would get confused and you wouldn't remember probably what name you'd given it. So it's easier to stick to a word which does describe the action that we want, and is simple, short, and to the point. So the word sit. I haven't got a dog with me. If I was talking in a class, I'd be demonstrating, and I'd be getting somebody with a dog, but I haven't. So I'm a dog, and this is a hand. As the treat is in the hand, is lifted up, the dog looks up at it. And as it looks up at the treat, it feels it's going to topple over. So it sits on its bottom and it sits down. And then you do that several times. The dog sits down. And you're thrilled because now it's got to sit. If you had just said to your dog, sit, and it had never learnt to sit or knew what a sit was, it wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about. But you have made it look up, it's sat its bottom down, and now you say, Charlie is the name of my dog, very good. Sit. And then afterwards, hopefully, if you're a good dog trainer, you would reward your dog for doing what you wanted him to do. Well, let's go on to the second part of demonstrating how we use our voice. How you say it is as important as what you say. Now, if you said, for example, now leave that alone. Don't put your nose in my bag and go and pinch the treats out, will you? Now, don't do that. What would your dog think? It would think, bag, I know that word, treats in the bag. Yes, my owner sounds happy. She's quite happy when you're taking a treat. Take no notice of you. And just think if your dog is being good, though, and you want to praise it, and you say, good dog, you're a good dog. What would that sound like? It would sound like, well, my owner's a bit cross with me, but I don't know why, because I was doing what he wanted. So basically, it's words like stop, leave, off, which need to be not shouted, but firm. Just so that the dog knows that that's what you want. You're providing information. You're giving him clues, which is why we call them verbal cues. It's a cue for what you want the dog to do. The dog is an excitable dog. It leaps all over the place. You want it to learn to be calm, but you find in the evening he's laying on the floor by your feet, so you stroke him, and you say, calm, good, quiet dog. And you praise him then, and he learns that that's what calm means. So basically, also, it's not nagging. It's okay, no, no, no. You know, teenagers, they learn to filter it out. Dogs do the same. They filter it out. So it's better to have a word like stop, off, leave it, but they're all going to say no at times. And also have, don't be ambiguous. I'm just going to just say this, sister, is to come, sit down. What's the dog going to do? Come to you, sit on you, lie down, just be clear on what you want him to do. Thank you.